Hola.
Hey. Um, welcome in. Happy Tuesday night.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a happy Tuesday it is.
And a happy Tuesday. For Steve, it is.
Yep. My family is on their way.
There you go.
They're in Georgia. They're stopping in Georgia tonight. They just left Buc-ee's.
There you go.
And they're gonna.
Did they get some brisket sandwiches?
I don't know what exactly they got. I told them they should have got the brisket, but I don't know what they got. They called while the intro was going, so I told them they call me back later.
Sweet.
So they're gonna get to their destination in a couple hours, hopefully, and they're going to sleep there. Wake up in the morning. The girls they're gonna eat breakfast. They're gonna swim a little bit, then head on down.
Nice. Exciting.
I told them not to watch because I don't know why. They have this issue where she has a charging block for her power. And for whatever reason, they can't figure out how to connect to the car they're in to get power to their phones. So one of the two phones is already dead.
Oh, wow.
So do not watch the stream. Keep it so you know where you're going. And we'll talk when you get it plugged in.
It's better to have navigation than it is listening to the two of us read a book.
Yeah. So anyways, hello, everybody.
Well, safe travels, Mom and Dad and family. And I don't know who I'm more excited for, them to come down and see you or you to see them. I honestly, yeah.
Me.
So
It's been a long time. It's been 3 years since they've been here.
Yeah,
And it was 2.5 until I went home a month ago. It was 2.5 years since I saw them.
I met your parents because you were picking me up at the airport when you were dropping them off at the airport.
That's true. That's true. I
That was
dropped
the
them
last
off.
time they were down there.
That is true. That when they moved here, they helped me move here, and then a month. They helped me move here in April. They stayed for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They went home, and then my mom and my niece came back down in June, which was a month and a half later, and that was it.
Yep.
That was the last time they were here.
Yep.
Been 3 years.
Good to see them coming back.
I'm excited.
I am too. It's like Christmas Eve for Steve.
It is, and it's. I mean. And the other reason why I like it so much too is because it's like we're almost there, where they're almost going to be here permanently. So that's the biggest thing for me. So we'll talk about all that after we're done reading, though.
Yeah. Let's welcome in the chat real quick before we get to read. Welcome in Nicole, Happy's Haunt, Samantha Lowe, Stacy Rogers, Kenneth H, Dear Davey Burnfeld, Jen S. Disney, Vicky Gillespie, Corby Sinclair. Good to see everybody. Let's see. Got to scroll on down now. Everybody's chit-chatting. There's Sparkly Pink Diamonds. Welcome in. Diana Murphy. Hello. Good to see you. Paul Engel. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Chris S. Welcome in. Good evening. There's Nicole again. There's Steph Disney fan. Sandy Byers. Welcome in. Good to see both of you. Scrolling on down, and it keeps jumping on me. Tim Rimple. What's up, buddy? IB Rebecca, hello, good evening. Jay Nashville, welcome in. Jason Thibodeau, good to see you. Nathan, welcome. Good evening. And I think we're caught up.
All right.
So the boy child was off today, Steve.
Was he?
And he washed my van.
Aw.
And he got me something.
What did he get you?
I got to show this first. I've had this for a while. This is the Hot Wheels Batmobile.
Oh, nice.
It's the classic from the TV series.
Very nice.
I had that for a while. He washed the van and went and got me new wipers at O'Reilly's because he has some friends that work there. And he came in and he had something for me. This is the original Batmobile.
Oh.
So this in the comic book.
It was red?
The first Batmobile was red. And so
that's cool.
He got me the Hot Wheels version of that. I was really excited about that. So
that's awesome.
It'll go well with my other Batmobile.
Well, I got really, really sad news.
Oh.
Willie Mays just passed away.
Really?
Obviously huge in the baseball world.
Yeah.
93 years old. He passed away just a little bit ago. So.
Wow.
Or the news broke that he passed away a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I love baseball. I don't remember seeing Willie Mays play, but that's a name all baseball fans know.
I think he was retired long before I was ever born.
Yeah,
I think. But
anyway. Said he was 93.
Yep. The Batman though is really cool. I like that red one. So,
Wendy B, hello dear. Good to see you.
Hello, Wendy. I got Reese was in my stream on Monday. Yes, that'd be yesterday, wasn't it? It'd be yesterday.
It was.
Reese was in the stream yesterday. I told him, I said, Reese, go ask your mom why she always loses to Jeff in the chat challenge or the last chat thing. I don't think he ever did though, because I never got any nasty grams from Wendy. So I'm not decorating walls, and they're not there permanently. I had to get them up off the ground. And so they're hanging up just with thumbtacks for now.
Yep.
Because I can close those holes pretty easily.
Okay.
We're going to read a little differently tonight, by the way.
We are.
Just because the way the chapters line up.
These are good.
Yeah, oh yeah. Those are real good. I like
sugar-free lifesavers.
I like the orange ones.
Yeah.
They're not really dense. They're more like candy. But
Debbie Thuner, welcome in. Good to see you, Debbie. Hello.
We're already 31% done with the book, by the way.
Wendy said, rude, Steve. Rude. We heard you. Down in Murphy. Steve, did you work bring you to Florida?
Nope. It was, I loved it here. I knew I've always wanted to be here. The only thing I went back, I used to live here. I went back because of family. One of my brothers had a brain tumor that is all good now. He's doing fine. So I went back when I moved here. I went back and then said, I'm not going to move until my family's ready to. And they came in one day and said, when are we moving to Florida? I said, I can make it happen. Next day I had a realtor. Next day my house on the market. Next day it sold. And 30 days later I moved. And they, with a 3-year plan to get here, get established, get a job, make sure I had something, know where everything was and what was going on. And that they would move 3 years later after my niece graduated. She just graduated. So the time
Dan said she saw Willie Mays play against the Cubs.
Wow.
I remember those conversations, Steve, when we were talking, and Steve was like, I got a realtor. And like the next day or two later, he's like, the house sold. I was like, holy cow. So tonight we are picking up on
part 2.
Starting part 2. Tonight's chapter is called Escape. Taterhead, welcome in. Good to see you. I think we're going to do 3 chapters tonight.
Yep.
So
Chris is going to read the first one. I'm going to read the middle one. Chris is going to read the last one.
Yep. So when we last left off, we had hit the twist in this one. Main Street Nick.
What was the twist?
The twist was Belle went to the west side of the castle, which she was not supposed to go to.
Right.
She saw the tattered portrait of Beast as the prince, and then she saw the rose, and she lifted the cover off of it, and before Beast could stop her, she touched it, and it basically turned to dust.
Turned to dust.
As if Thanos had snapped his fingers.
Yep.
So.
No more fall in love.
Nope. Yep. And here we go from there. Escape. The castle shook. There was a mighty clap, like the largest clap of lightning in the history of the world, struck the tower. Strange, loud noises erupted from everywhere at once. Somewhere familiar, they touched the very core of Belle's soul. Something between a cracking and a crackling, but much, much bigger. Ice. It sounded like ice breaking across a pond, and brought with it the accompanying dread, as when a foot steps down and lines shoot out from under it into the white distance, and death is in the frigid air. Somehow Belle wouldn't have been surprised if the whole place began crumbling around her, but that wasn't what was happening. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. My one chance, the beast cried. My one chance at ending this curse. It's gone. You've ruined it. She was only half paying attention to him. He was still standing still and screaming and not accosting her. More immediate things were happening outside. She ran to the window. Strange bone-white things were coming out of the ground just beyond the perimeter of the castle walls. Too angular and thick to be vines, too solid to be ice. At first, Belle thought they were something like antlers or bones being forced out of the dirt by whatever forces were now at work. But they kept coming up, unending and sickly. They twisted and turned as they shot forth, whipping around and sticking to whatever solid object they touched. Once they came in contact with the wall, they slowed. But then they grew like frost on a window, crisscrossing each other and spreading unnaturally, spider webs. Somehow Belle knew without even wondering. Not the ones that hung in neat circles or in octagons and whatever other gons in brushes and on flowers with a pretty little spider sitting in the middle. The other ones, the messy ones that covered the ground and grass like snow on dewy mornings, all random peaks and valleys and impossible to see where the spider hid. three-dimensional, complicated. Her mother had liked roses and natural things. Belle remembered this vaguely. Her mother, the enchantress. It made sense that she had cursed the castle with webs. Belle turned to look at the beast. His eyes were empty of everything except for animal like anger. There was no spark of intelligence or humanity left in them. He stood on all fours and bellowed madly. Belle was paralyzed for a moment. Then instinct kicked in and she ran, pushing past him and out the door. Without wasting a moment to look behind her, she dashed down the steps, 2 and 3 at a time, and raced through the great halls. She had to get out of there. Ma chérie, where do you go? What is happening? Lumiere plunked awkwardly out of the shadows after her. What have you done? Shrieked Cogsworth. I'm sorry, Belle sobbed. She didn't know why she was sorry. Maybe it was because she was leaving the cute little things back with that monster to be stilled up with him, to face his wrath once she was gone. Here she was on her first and only adventure, and somehow she had ruined everything immediately. She flung open the front door and ran through the courtyard, past the fountain to the gates. A single strand of webbing as thick as her wrist had grown over them, holding them mostly closed. She reluctantly reached out to touch it. Sticky, just a little, and cold. Belle swallowed her revulsion and tried to pull it aside, but it didn't give at all in the way she imagined a giant piece of spider silk should have. It was hard and unyielding. She pulled her hands away and scrambled underneath it instead, forcing her body through the small crack, pushing the metal bars apart with her legs. Her clothes brushed against the gluey surface of the webbing, and it grabbed her like it was alive. Belle kicked and screamed and forced herself out, entirely giving in to panic. Her dress tore with a sound that seemed to rip the world. By the time she got up and brushed herself off, the webs were already recovering the gap thicker behind her, almost as if they sensed the breach and strove to fix it. Belle shuddered. Philippe, bless his horse heart, was still there, and more than ready to run himself, ears cocked and eyes rolling at the strangeness of what was happening. Belle grabbed his reins and leapt on his back. He didn't need to be told twice. In a turn and gallop that would have made his warhorse ancestors proud, Philippe dashed into the woods. His long legs pushed hard against the ground, hooves smashing into dust everything that wound up beneath them. They were going to make it, and she was going to ride triumphantly through the snow back home. Then he stopped, rearing up. Belle was almost flung from his back, and that's when she saw them, wolves. There were, of course, still wolves around the village where she lived. Every once in a great while, driven by hunger, they would come down out of the hills and mountains and forests to grab a sheep if a shepherd wasn't watching properly. But unless it was sick or desperate, none would appear in broad daylight to a human on a horse, a human whom it knew probably carried a gun. Wolves were bad guys only in fairy tales and legends to scare young children at night. These, however, didn't look like the gray wolves she and her father had once seen trotting in the distance. They were huge and white, with red eyes that seemed to glow. Seemed? She had just fled an enchanted castle with talking furniture and a beast prince ruling them all, whom her mother had cursed. These were not normal werewolves. They were magic, too. They were trying to stop her from leaving the castle. Belle grabbed the reins and pulled hard, spinning Philippe the other way. The wolves howled and bayed like nightmare creatures as they took off in pursuit. Belle could barely hold on, much less direct Philippe. She let him go wherever he needed to for escape and didn't try to stop him from running over a snowy pond like it was nothing more than a field. The ice broke beneath them with thundering waves of noise that rippled out to the banks on the far side, echoing what was occurring back at the castle. Unheeding the danger, the wolves followed. One of Philippe's hooves struck a weak spot. A moment later, the horse was floundering in the freezing water, churning his front legs desperately and trying to get back up. But several of the wolves were also caught in the shifting sheets of ice. They had lost at least two of their followers to the blackness below. Philippe managed to clamber to the edge of the pond and pull himself out on the solid ground. Belle gritted her teeth as the icy water slushed in her shoes. She couldn't feel her lower legs. The horse threw himself forward, galloping into the forest again. Belle hunkered down, trying to avoid being knocked off by low branches or clotheslined by vines. They burst into a clearing and saw three more wolves already waiting for them there. Surrounded on all sides, Philippe began to panic in earnest, eyes rolling and making terrible shrieking noises, his eyes rolling. He bucked wildly, slashing his hooves at the enemy, forgetting about his rider. Belle flew off his back. The wolves came closer and closer and snapped at his feet and legs. Belle shook her head, which was ringing from her hard landing. Otherwise, nothing seemed to be too badly damaged. She dragged herself to her wobbly legs and looked around for anything that could be used as a weapon. A large forked branch lay on the ground nearby. She grabbed it and stood with her back to the panicking horse, trying to fight off the wolves that were closing in. "Stay back," she ordered. "I am the daughter of an enchantress." The wolves didn't think much of her declaration. One wolf leapt at her and grabbed the branch in its teeth, pulling it out of her grip. At the same time, another hurled itself into her chest, knocking her down. Belle rolled away, trying to keep from under Philippe's deadly hooves. Another wolf stood over her, its slavering mouth inches from her face, its yellow teeth glinting like poison in the moonlight. It snarled and opened wide, ready to tear her to pieces. Belle turned her face aside and covered her head with her hands, waiting for the finishing bite. And suddenly the weight was off her. She peered through her fingers to look. The beast was there, throwing the wolf he had picked off of her to one side. He roared and howled louder than the pack. The rest of the wolves leapt to attack him. One lunged at his leg, another at his shoulder. In moments that were too quick to follow, the beast shifted from 2 feet to 4, shaking the wolves off him like water. But he bled from ugly wounds where they fell away. Belle crawled to the safety of a large tree and hid behind its enormous roots. The beast was saving her? He stood for a moment, silhouetted against the moonlight, his claws out. They were longer than a bear's and glittery ivory, and ruby from raking through the belly of a wolf. Then he was all shadows and blurry movement again, throwing himself among the remaining wolves like a reaver. With yelps that didn't sound properly dog-like at all, the wolves began to sense the battle had turned. The beast grabbed one of the last and flung it against a tree like a sack of apples. There was an ugly, wet-sounding crack as it crumpled in a heap right in front of Belle. She flinched at its closeness. Without a signal or a noise, the wolves admitted defeat and leapt into the shadows, disappearing back to wherever they had come from. Belle looked up at Beast, who was on 2 legs now, growling a final warning. His fur was torn and one ear didn't quite look right. His stance, never normal to begin with, looked more misshapen and awkward than before. There was a small pool of blood forming in the dirt below his right forepaw. He opened his mouth to say something to her, and then slowly, like a falling tree, collapsed at her feet.
A decision and its consequences. Oops. There we go. Belle stayed as still as a rabbit, looking with wide eyes upon the scene before her, replaying in her mind what had just happened. The beast, the big, malformed, and grotesque thing that lay unconscious in a patch of his own blood before her, had imprisoned her father just for trespassing, and then traded Maurice's life for hers like some sort of medieval depot. He was not by any stretch of the imagination a good creature, and yet he had saved her from the wolves. Snow began to fall. Belle suddenly had no idea how long she had been sitting there frozen. Philippe's reins were caught up in the strangler vines across the clearing. He chuffed unhappily, pacing back and forth. The lingering scent of wolves and death were making him crazy. Belle blinked and the snowflakes out of her eyes. Now that the shock of battle was wearing off, she was beginning to feel things again, including how numb and aching her wet feet were. If she would stayed out much longer, she wouldn't be able to walk. She would freeze. Slowly she rose, stomping her feet, trying to work feeling back into them. Then she stumbled across the clearing to Philippe and worked the ropes out of their snarl with stiff, unhelpful fingers. Murmuring calming words, she managed to get the giant horse to back up and slowly turn around. The bodies of the wolves and the beast were lifeless mounds, gradually whitening in the rapidly increasing snow. She turned to go. The beast would freeze if she left him there. He had saved her life. Cursing, she led the nervous Philippe over the carcasses and piles of bloody innards. He did not shy away from the beast, as she was afraid he might. Something about his body was less terrifying than those of the wolves. With a lot of difficulty, Philippe, and no desire to kneel in the snowy, bloody muck, and a strained back, Belle managed to shove the beast onto the horse so his head and hind limbs dangled off opposite sides. As loath as she was to touch him, his fur didn't smell as bad or as animal-like as she expected. It had a faintly wild barn-like that smells bad. Had a faintly wild barn-like whiff to it, but was neither greasy nor dirty. She idly wondered if he licked himself clean like a cat or dove into ponds like a dog. But now, where to? As she looked around the woods through whirling drifts of snow, she realized she had no idea where she was. She had just made Philippe run through the woods, willy-nilly. Belle frowned and stared at the sky, but of course there were no stars. Between the gloom and the snow, there was no way to find any familiar landmarks. She couldn't stop shivering. The toes of her shoes, she saw, had hardened with ice and were dusted with hoarfrost, echoing the webs that had crawled up outside the castle. She felt like one of the luckless peasant girls in some Russian hagiography, left to fend for her family in deep Siberian snows. Every illogical girl, she didn't like where the hints all around her were leading her. Apparently, I'm the daughter of an enchantress, she thought, so maybe I can enchant. She closed her eyes and imagined warm. Sunny skies, still clouds, and snow swept away. Nothing. She clenched her fist hard and imagined fire, even at the risk of making it consuming the tree in front of her. Make it burn. She opened her eyes. Nothing. I command you, winds, she shouted imperiously. Take me home. Please, she added after a moment. Nothing. With aching slowness, she turned Philippe and his burden around and followed their tracks back to the castle. It was very hard going. Belle tried not to panic about not being able to feel her feet anymore, tried to put away little fairy tale horror stories she had read about girls freezing in the wilderness. I'm the daughter of an enchantress, she told herself to bolster her courage, also just to taste the feeling of it. That had been her mother in the visions, whose role in Belle's broken memories was merely that of a pretty face and loving smile and soft lap. There was nothing magical about her, beyond the extra layers of warmth that nostalgia and loss applied to fond remembrances. When they finally made it back to the castle, she saw with a shock that all the perimeter walls were now shrouded in white, thick, ribby drifts. Strands were still growing up out of the ground, much more slowly now, but with a frightening relentlessness. Where she had squeezed out through the gates, there were now many more ropes of webbing, but when she reached out to try to push them, they broke off in her hand, shattering. Belle was shocked before she realized the truth of it. They were there to keep Belle in, not out. A few deft swipes and they were gone. She threw the gates open and led Philippe in. When the gates clanged shut behind her, the webbing had already begun to grow back. A funny sad little scene greeted her at the door to the castle. Cogsworth, Lumiere, and what was a dust mop, drooped in despair, looked out into the night. Lumiere had a carefully placed candle hand on Cogsworth's back in sympathy. They all gawped at and jumped as soon as they saw her. Get him inside. He needs a fire and bandages, Belle ordered. Right away. Certain meant, Lumiere said briskly, marching off. First aid immediately, of course, Cogsworth added, looking grim. All sorts of little creatures and animated bric-a-brac came to life that Belle hadn't seen earlier, whisking and scampering this way and that to help out. She caught sight of Mrs. Potts, steaming with purpose, ordering the lesser kitchenware to help out with boiling water and hot towels. Once the beast was inside and being tended to, Belle reluctantly returned to the courtyard. Thank you, old friend, she said to Philippe, patting his soft nose. Now go home. Go to Papa. She led him to the gates, shuddering at the sight of the icy webbing that was slowly continuing to spread. After both of them carefully stepped through, she gave his flanks a firm but friendly slap. The horse neighed and then trotted off into the woods toward home. Belle felt a pang, but she had made her decision. I need some rope, she said to Cogsworth as she entered the study, shaking herself into action. Yes, of course, right away, the little clock said. What? I'm not letting him free until I get some answers, Belle said, gritting her teeth. Help me tie him up. Tie up the master? Cogsworth stuttered. He threw my father into a cold prison cell, then took me in his place. I think tying him up in front of a warm, roaring fire is plenty generous, considering, she snapped. The little clock started to protest, but Belle simply glared at him. Yes, I can see your point, Cogsworth boggled. All right, pantry, storage, you're needed. He waddled off, still gaping about the inappropriateness of the whole thing. Belle watched the castle busy itself, a little surprised at her quick acceptance of the whole thing. From discovering the existence of an enchanted castle to ordering its occupants around like she had been doing it in her entire life. It all had taken less than that span of a day. She wondered for a moment what would have happened if she had never gone up the stairs to the Forbidden West Wing. Would she have remained a prisoner of the beast, or would she have become the queen of this place? She never did see the library. Belle didn't trust the silverware and oversaw each of the knots as it was being tied and pulled. Sometimes when they ran out of the money for metal, her father had to cobble his inventions together with leather thongs and rope. She was good at lacing things tightly. Mrs. Potts had a cart of hot tea and brandy wheeled in, along with a dish of broth and a covered tureen of what, from the smell, Belle was pretty sure the beast ate on a regular basis. Meat, not cooked much. Belle took it upon herself to help wash his wounds. Except for an animated mop and broom, there wasn't really anyone large enough or with strong prehensile digits to gently dab a wound and then wring out the cloth into boiling hot water. Could my mother have just healed him with a snap of her fingers? Belle tried to remember some incident from her childhood where she was hurt, but it was always just Maurice bandaging her wounds and putting salves on them or giving her a kiss to make it feel better. She couldn't remember her mother doing anything or being there at all, really. Belle helped herself to some tea in between, putting in plenty of sugar. They never had enough of it at home. Here, there were a whole pyramid of shining brown lumps. Do enchantresses drink tea, or did my mother only have tisanes and wild concoctions made from the forest things? She hadn't seemed like a woodsy sort of the vision, as the woodsy sort in the vision. The dress she wore when she turned back into herself was a little showy, but otherwise quite fashionable, as if a modern, well-to-do lady wanted to impress a snobby prince with her enchantressness. Sorceresses with bustles, witches with frothy white wigs. Belle drowsily tried to figure out what a modern wizard would look like. Eventually, she must have dozed off, kneeling on the floor with her body resting against the giant chair the beast was lying in and tied to. When she woke, the beast's eyelids were fluttering open. Funny, Belle thought, he has eyelashes. The moment of drowsy calm didn't last. As soon as he was fully awake, the beast roared and strained to get up, and then roared again when he realized he couldn't. Hush, Belle chastised. The entire castle can hear you. Why am I restrained? What do arg? This is my best pirate beast. He fell back into the chair. One of his
you muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
He fell back into the chair, one of his wounds having pressed against the rope when he strained. He bit his lip and whimpered like a dog. Thank you for saving me from the wolves, Belle said mildly, but she was a little leery. It wouldn't take many more attempts like that for the beast to break free. One of the ropes grew taut and frayed as he struggled. If you're thanking me, why have you tied me up? He grumbled. This was the beast she could reason with. It was a tone of voice she recognized from before, human but grumpy. Let's see, she ticked off reasons on her fingers. Because you made my father your prisoner, because you then made me your personal prisoner, because you were cursed, and I feel like maybe with reason, and also I have questions. Doesn't matter, tie me up or not, I'm trapped here forever in this, the beast mumbled. He began to lick one of his wounds moodily. Stop that, Belle said, lightly slapping his arm. The beast jumped. Ow! Please, Belle rolled her eyes. I saw what you did with the wolves did to you. That hurt. He remained grouchily quiet. In the flickering light of the fire, the beast looked both more monstrous and more human. His head was massive, and not on a second look, canine or wolfish as one would expect of a loup-garou. It was more like a bull with longer fur. His horns went a long way towards completing that image, but his eyebrows were large and expressive, and if one didn't look too closely, one could mistake the lower part of his mane for a beard. His eyes remained intelligent and unreadable in the orange light. He suddenly said, how did you know I was cursed? When I touched the rose, sorry. The beast had immediately wilted, somehow becoming small in the giant chair. His brow furrowed in pain, and something like a whimper might have escaped around his mighty tusks. Now she understood his rage. Not all the details, of course, but she had accidentally destroyed the only way he had of freeing himself from the monstrous form he was in. When I touched the rose, I saw what happened. I saw you as a boy in the castle, being cursed by an enchantress. I'm very sorry for what I did, Belle said much more gently, but it didn't look like you were ever going to break the curse on your own. Most of the petals had already fallen, isn't that right? We must be very close to your 21st birthday, so unless you were going to somehow make me fall in love with you in, I don't know, a month or less, it was already over. The beast looked away, possibly in embarrassment. And, Belle added wryly, I have already almost been the victim of one involuntary wedding today, so I can tell you I'm not that easy to catch. The beast looked at her, surprised and interested for a moment, before grinding his teeth and looking down at the floor again. Why did she curse you? Belle pressed. The beast didn't answer. Come on, why? Crazy enchantress, I don't know, the beast shrugged angrily. Please, Belle said. I was 11 years old, he roared. What could I have done? Belle was silent for a moment. He had a point. The boy in the vision seemed, in truth, a terrible little human being, but he was still a boy, and also a prince, apparently. And what was it the enchantress, her mother, had said? There is no love in your heart at all, Prince, just like your parents. Did the woman who cursed you know your parents? It looked like he was going to stay sulkily silent, but then he seemed to think about it, as if this was the first time he had considered the whole thing. My parents ruled the kingdom. Of course she knew them. Belle rubbed her temples in frustration. Was the enchantress famous? Did she bear some sort of grudge against your parents or the kingdom for some reason? She didn't like to think about the woman she had suddenly learned so much about was one of those irrational fairies or witches or sorceresses from legend who went around cursing people and their babies out of spite. Wait, does it matter now? The beast asked. It matters because I'm trapped here with you because of whatever happened 10 years ago. And oh yes, it turns out the enchantress was my mother. The look of surprise on the beast's face was already almost comical. No, actually comical, Belle decided. What? The enchantress was my mother, she repeated a little more patiently. It was strange to say it aloud. She had these new images in her head of a woman maybe 10 years older than Belle herself was now. She wondered at the cross of sublime angelic determination and spitfire anger that had caused her to test and then curse a boy prince. Rash. That was the word Belle would have chosen to use for a woman who did things like that. Oh, a tiny voice in her head said, you mean things like marching into the haunted castles and trading your life for your father's, acting without thinking consequences. She waved her hand as if to physically brush the thought away. Your mother, the beast repeated, still dumbfounded. He scrabbled in his chair like a restless dog. Are you an enchantress too? He asked eagerly. Can you free me from this? Sorry. I'm not an enchantress, Belle said softly. She was surprised at how much it bothered her to see the beast's look of disappointment. Up until today, I didn't believe such things as enchantresses existed, or curses, or enchanted castles. As she said this, a pair of silver demitasse spoons marched out and, using a cloth napkin they had like a sheet to be folded, delicately wiped up some spilled tea before marching away again. Well, but where is she? Is your mother at home? Can we go see her? He was leaning forward eagerly, hopefully. I never knew my mother, she admitted. I had no idea where she is. She left us years ago. I'd love to see her again, especially now that it turns out she's an enchantress. I have lots of questions I'd like answered. Why are you here then? The beast growled. If your mother came and cursed me, isn't it unusual that you also show up at my castle door 10 years later? Well, yes, Belle agreed, but I'm here only because of my father. Philippe the horse came back without him, and I went out to search. You're lying. You could have come to make sure the curse would come true. Belle raised an eyebrow at him. I am not lying. I'm not sure what the point of me doing that would be. After bringing you back to the castle so you wouldn't freeze to death. The beast chagrined, didn't say anything. Wait, or what do we do now? He finally asked in a small voice. Belle looked at him in surprise. He threw out his hands as best he could, indicating the room or the castle or the world. We're stuck here forever. The spider webs will cover the whole castle soon, completing the curse. Belle looked up at the ceiling, at the walls, hoping an answer or something would materialize. The corners of the rooms were shadowy and angles left back and forth as the fire danced and cast eerie lights. She realized with a slow blink of her eyes that her overwhelming feeling at that moment wasn't fear. It was exhaustion. It was being overwhelmed. It was her brain, the one that her father always praised her for, suddenly being overtaxed and overfull. All she wanted to do was sit quietly in a corner and think about the wisps of ideas she had about her mother. For instance, she had somehow always thought of her mother as having auburn hair, sort of like her own hair, but redder, not blonde. Why had she gotten it so wrong? Isn't the first thing a child describes about her parent the hair color? She had no idea what it smelled like either. She couldn't summon a single sensory image of her mother holding her. All her mother did was shortcut the memory by alluding to loving scenes in books she had read. Everything from nursery rhymes to fairy tales and picaresques. The picture she had in her head now of angelic retribution didn't exactly conform to what she thought her mother or any mother would be like. She wasn't a mother at all in the scene. She was a woman, a person doing things that had nothing to do with Belle, nothing to do with me. She never had anything to do with me. She rubbed her temples and glanced over the beast. She should have been afraid. He was a big, violent beast who could easily kill her or a dozen different ways. But he had saved her life from the wolves. Surely he didn't mean to hurt her. And she spoke like a mostly normal human, something that could be reasoned with. She thought about Gaston, the only other big beast-like thing she knew who spoke. He would have been a lot slower on the uptake about everything. Their conversation would have been a lot longer and more frustrating, and he would have tried to marry her at some point. He was human and utterly impossible to communicate or negotiate with. With a sigh, Belle got up and began to untie the ropes. The beast stayed until she was finished, being careful not to move at all while following her movements with his eyes and suspicious eyes, or his wide, suspicious eyes. Why are you doing that? She shrugged. As you say, nothing much matters anymore. We're here for a while, at least. May we at least trust each other. When she was finished, he flexed his claws experimentally. As he rose out of his chair, he winced, grinding his teeth at the pain from his wounds. If we could find my mother, Belle said slowly, thinking, if she's not dead or something, maybe she could reverse the curse. How would we find her? The beast grumbled, massaging one paw with the other. Do you still have the mirror, the one she gave you? Even as she asked, she remembered the other thing up on the table with the rose, the ornate silver hand mirror lying there so innocently that lets you see everywhere. The magic mirror, the beast said, eyebrows raising. Yes, we could consult it. Great, let's go consult the magic mirror, she repeated, unable to believe she was saying those words aloud. Why not? And maybe afterwards we can go visit the witch in her woods and break off a bit of her candy house for a snack. The beast looked at her confused, his eyebrows rising even higher, like dark clouds above his eyes. above his blue eyes. Never mind, Belle said with a sigh. It was a joke. I'm not sure why that line's there, but I think it just keeps going. For the second time, Belle found her going up the stairs to the forbidden wing. Her feelings were entirely different now. She was exhausted and unafraid. The whisperings of shadows and creakings of animated suits of armor held no terror against the whirl of images and thoughts in her head. Blonde and green and lightning-colored thoughts with her mother's face again and again. That look of disappointment and triumph wasn't altogether pleasing. The beast hesitated for a moment at the demon-handled doors of his room. It made Belle think of a scene from some book in which a boy, somewhat embarrassed, showed his family home or private room to a girl he liked. Fear of disappointing the guest, fear she would discover something uncouth about the host. Like there could be anything worse than torn up furniture, nests, and bones everywhere, Belle thought wryly. He let her go first, which was chivalrous, although unwanted. The room was cold and the curtains still flapping. Not inviting in the slightest. What picture is this? She asked, indicating the carefully mangled one. The portrait of the young man with the blue eyes. The beast deflated, his giant shoulders hunching over his neck and head. It's me. He reached out a delicate paw and pulled all the strips of canvas back into place. The prince was... Ooh. My page turned. Here it is. The prince was revealed yet again, tall and handsome and arrogantly looking into the viewer's eyes, challenging them to keep looking. The enchantress put a spell on it so it would age with me and show me how I would look if I was still human. If I hadn't failed her test, I am always reminded of who I could have been. Belle cocked her head and really looked at the picture. It was painted by a consummate artist. The velvet on the prince's jacket looked soft and furry enough to touch, but those eyes... I'm not so sure it should make you feel bad, she finally said. The man in that picture looks contemptuous, self-important. The beast looked at her shocked. Well, he does, she said, waving a hand to indicate the prince's face. It's supposed to show what you would look like on the outside, but does it show how you really are on the inside? The beast dropped the canvas strips in disgust and swung away, muttering something about meaningless words. Belle almost smiled despite their circumstances. There were moments when she almost enjoyed talking with the beast, poking at him gently. She followed him over to the table. The wind had dropped, and now everything was strangely still. There wasn't enough breeze to flutter a single rose petal. The beast took one sharp breath upon seeing the destroyed flower, then made himself look away. Belle felt her heart sink. It really was all her fault. Maybe he had only a few more weeks until the curse was complete anyway. But those would have been a few more weeks of hope, and who knows? Maybe the magic would have sent some nice peasant girl, to lift the hex. Maybe her mother had a plan that wouldn't have kept this poor beast in his state forever. With far more gentleness than she would have guessed those massive paws were capable of, he picked up the mirror and cradled it lovingly. At first, it seemed like no more than a fancy princess's vanity object decorated with roses and what looked like abstract beastly faces on it. What can it do? Belle asked politely. You want to get that before I keep moving?
Thank you, John, for the $5 spaceship ears. Thank you. We'll play the thing after we read.
Okay. Oh, it can show me anything, the beast said eagerly. Anything real? I've seen the mountains in the Far East that are always covered in snow, and Paris at Christmas time with all the lights and festivals and markets. Belle pushed a stray bit of her hair back behind her ear. You can see the entire world in that. Yes, look, he held out her hand. He held it out for her. At first, there was nothing but the silvery surface and her own skeptical face. Belle couldn't help fixing another stray lock of hair neatly behind her ear. She had rarely examined herself in such a fine glass and wasn't thrilled with how a few blocked pores looked in its illuminative depths. And was that a tiny scar next to her eye? She had never noticed it. Mirror, show me Paris, the beast commanded. Mist fogged the image like he had breathed on it. When they cleared, Belle was so surprised she was glad she wasn't the one holding the mirror. She might have dropped it. As real as if it were happening right in front of her through a window, she could see shining carriages, hurtling through cobbled stones, fancy ladies and gentlemen dressed in fashions she had only read about, buildings and shops and fountains and streets, like the entire world was filled with them. So many people, from aristocratic doyens attended by uniformed maids to merchants with smart but patched hats, to waifs, beggars, little hungry kids with feral eyes, dodging amongst everyone, trying to earn a few pennies or steal them. Belle was speechless. If she had a mirror like this, she might not have ever bothered to read. She could see an entire world full of stories right here. Then she realized she was leaning in, trying to hear what people were saying, to smell their perfumes, to feel the city air on her face. Nothing. It was a strangely cold experience, despite the picture of the beauty of the picture. This is my favorite thing, the beast said sadly. My only thing. I can see the world I am missing, the life I would have had. Belle frowned as he took the mirror back to look at it himself. But if you have this mirror and you know what you need to break the spell, why didn't you just use it to help you? She asked. Or you could have used it. You could have used it to find a girl, maybe. Or with the snarl, the beast shoved the mirror back in her face. Mirror, show me the red-headed boy. The image changed. Now it was a child whose hands were grotesque, like a lobster, with only two large, thick fingers on each hand and a thumb. He was behind bars that he gripped with his awkward digits and stood in a tub of water. In front of him, people were laughing and jeering, and in the case of one gentleman, poking at his claws with a cane. The saddest thing was not the restrained violence of the scene, but how resigned the boy looked and how empty his eyes were, and how he could see this was his lot in life forever. If they do this to a child, what do you think they would do to a beast? Belle bit her lip. She had no answers. Besides the meanness and small-mindedness of the townspeople, she had never seen any real cruelty, at least not outside a book. She wanted to touch the boy's cheek. She wanted to throw up. The beast took the mirror away. Just like that stupid hunter in the village over the river probably wants to put my pelt on his floor like a rug, he muttered. Gaston? Belle asked, shocked. You mean Gaston? I don't know anyone's names. Can't hear anything, he said, shaking the mirror. He always comes into the forest and shoots anything large, pretty, or different looking, or just moving. Excuse me. Other hunters come and go, getting deer or birds for meat. I have no problem with that. But this man, he just wants to kill and stuff everything. He doesn't need the meat. Belle decided to file the way the beast said meat later to think about it more fully. He was a several 100-pound beast and obviously didn't eat toast to keep his weight up. If I tried to leave the castle, they'd do that. Tie me up and make me a display at a circus. If I was lucky, the beast continued. So I watched the world from here, and it's safer. Safer, except that's no way to break the spell, Belle pointed out. The beast shrugged impatiently. You want to find your mother? Yes, Belle said. Let's see. Mirror, show me the enchantress who put the curse upon me. The image faded, and the mirror became foggy, a strange gray that didn't reflect a silver that wasn't shiny. It's never done that before, the beast said in wonder, shaking it again as if to fix it. Can I try? Mirror, show me my father, Belle commanded before the beast could answer. Maurice appeared, looking miserable, bouncing around the inside of the wheelless carriage and trying to look out of its windows back at the castle. Belle felt her heart would burst. Papa! Does he know where your mother is? The beast said eagerly. What? No, Belle said, distracted. He never talked about her, really. I thought it was because he was upset by whatever made her leave. But now I think maybe he just somehow doesn't remember her the same way I don't. Show me the enchantress, the beast said, pulling the mirror away from her. But the image faded again to the same strange gray. But my father, Belle began again. What about him? He needs me. He raised you by himself, didn't he? Seems like he's done a more than all right job. He'll be fine for a few days on his own, the beast pointed out. Belle glared at him. Her father didn't make their meals, tend their garden, earn coin for comestibles they couldn't grow or forage themselves, spend days inventing, all things he did before she was old enough to help him when he was taking care of her. Her lip quivered. Of course he was fine. Wait, you think he did a more than all right job? She couldn't help asking. The beast shrugged, suddenly embarrassed. She found herself smiling. Was he almost smiling back in his eyes at least? But after a moment, grim reality set in again. Now what? The beast asked, indicating the failed mirror. But Belle was exhausted and out of ideas. I don't know. It's been a long day. I'm very tired. He did give her a smile this time, albeit a wan one. Me too. Might as well go to bed, he said, shrugging. I guess we have forever to figure this out, Belle said softly. As they turned to go back through the door, they walked together side by side, in compassionable, if wistful silence. They didn't speak until the beast had walked her all the way back to her bedroom. Belle started to open the door, then stopped. She never found words hard. Her whole life, she had always had a pert answer or a gentle insult or a funny riposte to anything the villagers said to her. Now she found that pulling them from her heart and not her mind felt like dragging something jagged or reluctant out of a well. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I really am. I shouldn't have touched the rose. She made herself look straight into his eyes, his very unanimal eyes. The beast gave her a sad smile. You were my prisoner. Why would you listen to anything I said? And it wouldn't have mattered. Anyway, you're right. I wouldn't have broken the curse on my own. He looked down at his feet. Silence gathered over them like soft snow. Good night, Belle said, finally opening the door and stepping inside. But the beast, black as shadow and twice as silent, was already gone. And now on to
Castle haunted. As soon as Belle closed the door behind her, a complete and heavy hush fell over everything. She leaned back against the firm wood and closed her eyes. Maybe she would push a chair up against the door, but somehow she didn't think the beast would come back that night. It was unclear what she would be barricading against. She rubbed the palms of her hands over her face. She felt dry and drained. Remembering the princess pretty basin and pitcher on the bureau, Belle went over and poured some water onto her cupped hand and smoothed it over her face. There's a towel there if you like, the wardrobe said helpfully from behind her. Belle didn't so much jump as shiver at the sudden voice. Also, she felt a little foolish hanging right there with a lovely soft face cloth. Thank you. If you want some hot water, we can order it right up for you, the wardrobe said hopefully. No, I'm all right, really, thank you. The idea of a hot towel was, in fact, incredibly appealing. To get one at home, Belle usually had to time it just right with making dinner or breakfast. They only had two pots, and one had the meal in it. Her father's automatic watering system made it easy to get cold, clear, pure well water any given moment of the day. The heating it up was what took the effort. Sometimes she put a pot on top of his forge if it was going. But she couldn't deal with any more odd little inanimate objects right now. The wardrobe's presence was enough. Before she could even finish the thought, however, there was a tap on the door. Come in, she found herself saying politely before she could stop herself. Sorry to bother you, miss. A funny leather and metal thing whose original use she couldn't even begin to guess at came waddling in, several stout logs balanced carefully on its back. Lumiere came hopping behind. I thought we would top you off so we wouldn't disturb you tonight, the little candelabrum said, his companion carefully stacking the logs on the hearth and then fiddled with some twigs and other kindling in the fireplace itself. Bowing gracefully and dramatically, Lumiere managed to light it with a single flick of his flame hand. In no time, it was roaring orange and friendly. Thank you, Lumiere, Belle said warmly. She could have lit the fire herself, of course, and she could have certainly tended herself, unlike the sort of princess who had probably stayed in this room long ago. It was the not disturbing her night bit that made her grateful. He gave her another bow, less inclined to chattiness than usual, and hopped out of the room. The other thing, perhaps once a footman, followed close behind. The fire crackled happily now, more highlighting the quiet than breaking it. Belle stretched and yawned and began to unlace the back of her bodice. I have some lovely nightgowns if you like, the wardrobe said eagerly. Ah, no, not tonight, thank you, Belle said, no offense. No, of course not, the wardrobe said, a little too promptly. It's been a strange, very long day, Belle said patiently as she could. I just want to sleep in my own clothes tonight. The wardrobe moved in ways Belle couldn't have described, softened somehow, rub, rubbery around the edges. I understand, honey, she said in a much more sympathetic tone. You get some sleep. It's been a long day, even for us. Thank you, Belle sighed. She carefully took off her apron and pinafore, then her shirt, and carefully folded them and put them on the chair. If the wardrobe thought they would be better kept inside her drawers, she wisely didn't say anything. Clad in her slip and underthings, Belle pulled back the incredibly warm and soft duvet and slipped underneath. The pocket her body made against the silken sheets was icy cold initially, but she knew that in a few short moments, it would be warm enough for her body that she could uncurl out of the fetal position she was currently in. She thought about her mother. Belle tried to dismiss the same quick, almost violent succession of images she had seen when touching the rose. She tried to concentrate on what she did remember. It was very, very little. She thought she recalled a smile wide and warm and far less toothy than that of the woman in the vision. She remembered the smell of roses and the feel of sunlight. The roses and the sunlight and her mother were all mixed in together, like they were all part of the same thing, and one couldn't exist without the other two. Which woman was real? The one she didn't really remember, or the one in the vision? But before she could even begin to ponder the answer, another question asked itself immediately. Of the two, who was more likely to leave her baby daughter and husband? Belle couldn't pin down when exactly her mother had left. It was all a continuum, and at one point her mother was there, and most of the time she wasn't. And Maurice was always there, and Philippe, and the rose garden. When the townspeople were feeling kind, they told Belle how sorry they were she didn't have a real mother to raise her. Some even offered to take her under their wing to teach her how to be a proper girl. Obviously, she was a little bit off, having been raised by her papa like a boy. It wasn't really her fault. Were they right? Even just a teeny bit? If her mother had stayed, how would it have been different? Would she have brushed Belle's long hair at night while her daughter talked about her day and the mean girls in town? Would she have taught her how to bake pastries, take care of her nails, milk the goats more efficiently? Or would she, Belle thought bitterly, have taught me how to grow magic roses and curse people and summon lightning from my hands? That would have been something. Despite the warming of the bed, Belle grew less comfortable, tossing and turning as these jagged thoughts tore at the inside of her mind, opening holes and letting in painful new ideas. Eventually, sleep found her anyway, inserting its curling tendrils into her eyes and nose and mouth and consuming her even as she resisted. Her eyes shot open in the middle of the night. Belle had no idea what time it was. Maurice had clocks, several of them, and even without those, she could tell by the movements and noises of the chickens and the animals and the feels of the house which hour of the watch it was. Here it could have been 5 minutes after she fell asleep or 5 hours. The room was dark except for the orange bubble of space illuminated by the fire. Outside of that, she could feel it was also cold. All was as silent as when she went to sleep. There wasn't even the scurrying of a mouse or a rat to remind her of a normal night at home. She couldn't remember ever waking up anywhere besides the little farmhouse she shared with her father, or in the woods on a warm summer night if they stayed out while foraging. And there she would have been surrounded by the familiar songs of insects and night birds. Belle. It wasn't a sound, it wasn't a thought. It was like a wisp of a memory of an idea, almost. Something catch the faintest hint of that reminds you of something else. And when asked, you can't explain it what it was. Belle sat up. The wardrobe stayed still. Asleep, drowsing, dreaming. Hardly aware of what she was doing, Belle threw her legs over the side of the bed. Shadows crackled along the ceiling. They were just the result of firelight playing over the objects in the room. Probably. She frowned, squinting at them. There was no way there was there was no way there were little things running back and forth between the other shadows, slim as smoke, right? She rose slowly. She rose out of bed. After debating a moment, she took a thick taper out of a sconce and lit it in the fireplace, cupping her hand around so that the flame wouldn't go out when she pulled back. Taking one last look at the room, she opened the door as silently as she could and let herself out. Belle stood in the utter darkness of the hall, feeling foolish for a moment. As her eyes adjusted, she could just begin to make out the dim and hazy outlines of things. With no light except for her one tiny candle flame, it was surprising how those things shifted and moved so much out of the corner of her eye. She could have sworn strange thin feelers of blackness had begun to web the corners of the walls and ceilings. Belle. She drifted into the great hall beyond, trying to follow or escape whatever it was calling her. Dark, rich carpet softened her footsteps and only added to the eerie feeling. The statues that she had initially dismissed as Greco Roman replicas did not, she suddenly realized, depict gods and heroes. They were actually of howling, toothy demons. She stopped blinking at them. Had they always been like that, even when she first came to the castle? And had she just hadn't noticed? Even the most normal, angelic looking one had a mouth open in a vicious snarl, revealing sharp, inhuman teeth. Above what she thought were alabaster cherubim supporting vaulted arches, now had hideous expressions on their faces and strange closed eyes. Their hands reached out as if to grab anyone who came too close. Candlelight flickered off of their frightening details, eyes and fangs and claws. She backed away, bumping into a table behind her. She felt the vase tip and spun around to catch it, and then caught her breath. The legs of the table it was on looked like slavering monsters, wretched and angry to be supporting such a weight. Belle. Something was in this once forbidden West Wing. Something was left there, something they missed. It wasn't forbidden now, but that didn't mean she wanted to go up there alone in the middle of the night. Even the beast's presence would have been acceptable. Maybe he would even be there asleep. The thought gave her courage. Trying to still her nerves, she walked forward more forcefully, as if she as if this were her choice. as if she were just going to seek out a mystery she forgot. Not a scared, lonely girl in her nightgown with a candle like some daft heroine from one of her lighter romance books she read. This thought, too, gave her courage. She was Belle, not an idiot. She started to march up the stairs and then thoughts. Wait, who else had who else but an idiot would just be propelled forward by her overactive imagination? The castle was getting to her. Something about the shadows made it look like she was ascending into a gigantic cage, reminding her of the ivory webs at the outside walls. The stairs resembled nothing more than the ramp up into a trap like one of the rats her father designed. Maybe she could just get back to bed or see if any one of the little serving creatures was up. She turned around. There in the middle of the steps, as if it had always been there, was a statue made entirely of ivory. Belle was too frightened to even scream. She just put a hand over her mouth and bit her knuckles. A tiny, dim portion of her mind saying, aha, that's why people in stories do that. It's so they don't break down into useless, screaming piles of insanity. Little pools of water were forming from snow melt. For some reason, watching this slow drips was the most frightening thing of all. It must have come in from the garden, Belle thought insanely. There didn't appear to be anything under the leaves and vines. They wove around themselves to make the vague semblance of a person, perhaps a woman. Its green and amorphous arms were lifted up, entreating. Belle stumbled up the stairs backwards away from the thing, keeping her eye on it. It didn't move. Shaking and making little whimpering noises in the back of her throat, Belle kept moving, backing all the way up to the top of the stairs, almost tripping as she reached to the next step that wasn't there. Her foot came down hard on the floor instead, sending a shivering jolt through her ankle and up her spine. She let out an involuntary cry and stumbled onto the landing, barely catching herself. But she managed to keep a firm grip on the candle, not daring to let it go. Realizing she had taken her eye off the statue, she stood up quickly and spun around. It was now farther up the stairs, just behind her. Belle sobbed. Its arms were by its sides, like it knew Belle would just finish going where she was going where she was being herded of her own free will. If there was only as a reminder. Belle took a deep breath and then ran the last 30 feet to the beast's lair. She started to put her hands on the ugly, monstrous bronze handles that opened the door to his room and then stopped. A different sharp pain suddenly in the sole of her foot. She looked down. A giant shard of glass had stuck into her flesh. Blood slowly crept along its edge and dripped. With a wince, Belle reached down and pulled it out. The piece, it was from the giant mirror on the wall, the one that had been shattered by the beast, no doubt after he caught his reflection in there. Belle looked up at what was left of the mirror now, raising her candle and moving it around. It was hard to tell exactly which was which, with this so little light and all the shards pointing every which way. But even so, Belle could see that they weren't reflecting her or anything around her. She frowned and looked closer. One piece of glass showed a blonde lady carefully guiding a little girl's fat hand over a hole in the ground to, to drop seeds in. Another had a woman throwing leaves on the girl like a snowfall. A third showed the woman and the girl in sort of matching outfits, spinning and laughing. Belle suddenly realized with a shock that those were all scenes of her and her mother doing things together. Her mother squeezing her tight, her mother running with her after her with Belle running away, crying, her mother and Maurice both cuddling her together on their tiny bed. Some showed Belle as a baby, a little family in a smaller apartment that she didn't recognize, with no rose garden at all, and an eerily familiar castle in the background. Belle gasped. She had lived here, in this kingdom. This was where she and her father had moved from when she was a baby. She didn't remember any of it. It was like watching something else, like seeing other people through the beast's magic mirror. This was different family, something that had happened another time to someone else. No, Belle whispered. Why can't I remember this? Mamani, what what is all of this? As if an answer, suddenly all of the shards went dark. A single face appeared in the blackness, scarred and shadowed and monstrous, even more monstrous than the beast. For this is the last part, for this was at least part human. Mangled, scarred, bloody, and torn apart, whatever features remained were erased deep in shadow. Belle, it croaked, then suddenly lunged forward toward her. Betrayed was betrayed. Stay away, stay away. Say, wait. Betrayed was betrayed. Stay away, stay safe, away from dark. Belle fell back screaming. She couldn't stop screaming. All of the terror and insanity of the night welled up and burst out at her. She felt like it would never end. The screams and terror and the blackness would just roll up over her forever. The large doors opened, and suddenly the beast was there. He gathered her up with his big, revoltingly furry arms, and she began to kick and scream louder. He held her carefully in his at arm's length so she couldn't reach him and locked away back to her own room. No, she shrieked. I'm not going back in. The shadows, it's too dark. The thought of being shut up there with the blackness outside of the fire and the talking wardrobe and the shadows and no easy escape was too much. The beast paused for a moment, then carried her into the study where she had tied him up earlier. Sleepy looking objects peeked around corners, fluffed, fluffed up the fire, and generally watched, curious, as the beast set her down on a divan. Here, have a drink of this, Miss Potts said. She wore, Belle noticed distractedly, a knitted kettle cozy, the way one might wear a dressing gown. The cup she offered was not chip, and the liquid in it was not tea. No, Belle protested. Ma chérie, Lumiere said gently. Really? Don't you think if we wanted to poison you, we could have done it earlier? Through the thick muddle in her mind, Belle could see the logic in this. She could also see how ridiculously she was behaving, a hysterical girl among the closest things she had to friends at the moment. She took the cup and drained it in one draught. Easy, mon petite chérie, the little candelabrum laughed. She didn't even cough or choke. The fiery warmth hit her stomach in an explosion of comfort. Calmness returned to her eventually. The tick tock of Cogsworth's face helped slow her own heartbeats. Sleep came back to claim what it had what had been denied. Don't leave, she whispered before she finally succumbed, begging someone, maybe even the beast.
Yep.
Yep.
Interesting reading tonight.
Yep.
We got kind of a similar story, but on a different path.
Yeah. Different circumstances for some familiar scenes.
Yep. Very much so. And we got we got her mom involved too.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, good stuff tonight.
So I'm still liking the way this is going. This is so much better than the last book. I feel like we keep saying that, but it's so true.
It is definitely true. So yeah, that last one was just terrible. So and being the same author, I was nervous. She did such a great job with the first one. The second one was just terrible. This one's been a lot better.
This one's been good.
So we only got her for one more book after this too. I think somebody else does the next one, and then she does this, and then we don't see her again till like the very end of the.
Oh, okay.
We start getting some new people, new authors.
Yeah. Welcome in Paul Engel, Stephanie Kill, Alyssa Neal. Good to see y'all.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming in. So that's that. Debbie says this book is much more intriguing. I agree.
Well, and it's easier to read. And I don't mean that in like a skill level type thing. It's just it flows. The last one did not flow.
Well, I will say too, Steve. Every time I read this, even though some of these scenes aren't from the movie, I can still picture the movie characters in these scenes.
100%.
The last book was so different. I couldn't picture. I even had trouble picturing Maleficent in some of those scenes.
Yep.
So,
look, we don't know what was going on in her head when she wrote that second one.
Yeah.
Maybe she was, I don't know. I don't want to say. Maybe she was doing things she should have been doing.
Dinah Murphy says it's easier to understand. Stacy said, I think the first book and this book have a twist, while the last book was just plain twisted.
It was dumb.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wish Upon a Disney, Susan Silva. Welcome in, Susan. She said, I like this because I can work on stuff and just listen. Well,
yeah, it's what we started. Initially, I'm glad we didn't do it the way we initially talked about doing it. We would have been doing it anymore if that was the case. Like several people were going to try to read it ahead of time, and then we'd come and we would just talk about it. Mm-hmm. But I'm liking the reading of it and everything better.
Jeff Condon, good evening, sir.
Hello, Jeff. Says,
read a Stephen King book and ask yourself if mushrooms are a good idea. And,
wow.
Red rum. Yeah.
So that's good.
That's good.
Get through it, man. We're like 40% of the way through the book already.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. See what happens when you can actually read it and you don't like. It was real easy in the last book to go, Chris, you want to just, you not feeling it tonight? You just want to, and we did have all the challenges too, though, with your surgery and all that stuff. Yeah. But it was just easier to put off.
It was much easier to put off. Monorail Molly, hello, Jen. Good to see you.
Hola.
Nick D'Ambrosio, welcome in. Good evening. Good evening. Diana Murphy says, I love story nights. Well, I'm glad y'all are enjoying them. I wasn't sure. Like Steve said, when we first started reading the chapter and then just coming in and discussing it, I wasn't enjoying that much.
Yeah.
I like reading the book here. I hope y'all enjoy it. I know it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But
if it's not, you can still come chill out and hang out.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I'm enjoying it. So
I'm enjoying it as well.
Yeah. I think we've already got a this and that thumbnail up for tomorrow night.
There is.
So, already got that done.
And a title.
I should have read the title, but I don't.
Yeah. Title doesn't always matter.
I was about to say if it's like Saturday nights, it usually doesn't matter.
I think it's
titled, Noah. Welcome in, Noah.
It's titled butterflies and birdhouses.
Oh,
That's what was on the thumbnail. So
what was on the thumbnail? So Diana says you can tell people are listening because the chat becomes quiet.
it does.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a way too to be effective with not giving away. People don't always have to go buy the book if they just want to listen.
Yeah.
So they don't have to spend a lot of money. It's just another. People like audiobooks.
Yep. We didn't talk about this before stream, so I guess we'll talk about it now. Do you want to chill tonight, Steve, or do you need to call it a night and check on the family? Because I know they're still traveling.
Oh no, if they need to call, they'll just call.
Okay.
They didn't have their charge. Mom had a charger block, and she thought it was fully charged. Found out it's not. It's already dead. Her phone's already dead, and they were down to just my dad's because the nieces were playing on their phones the entire trip, and now they're dead. And I'm like, how are you guys gonna get where you need to go, or call if you're. So I told them to quit. Call. So now they're saving the one phone to get where they need to go and all that. But yeah, it's just they're getting there. They should be getting there. They should have been there 5 hours ago. They didn't listen to me when I told them when to leave and all that. So they left 5 hours late, got stuck right in the middle of Nashville in the middle of rush hour, which I told them not to do. It was awful. They were texting me, couldn't believe how bad traffic was. They weren't moving. I said, I tried to tell you guys.
Yeah.
So when I left Indiana, you have to avoid Louisville, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Atlanta primarily for rush hours. You do not want to wind up in any of those 4 cities during rush hour. They didn't listen. So they had other stuff they had to get done because they didn't get done yesterday. So I get that, but that's still on them. So, yeah. But now they got it done. They're on their way. It's just a late night check-in. And, they're getting there.
Awesome. Atlanta rush hour is horrible, windy. Yes, it is windy. Yes.
They're all horrible, but Atlanta's special kind of horrible.
We saw Tarzan on Broadway and the skating version at Animal Kingdom. Cool. John, Spaceship Ears said he couldn't get over that Tarzan was released 25 years ago today.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? 1999.
And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't remember. I think I've watched Tarzan, but I don't know that I've ever watched that movie all the way through.
Well, it doesn't surprise me though. There's lots of movies. That's why we started movie night, but
yeah,
that one's a little harder to pull off than reading.
I really like the music from it though. Phil Collins did a great job.
Yeah, he did. Well, that's definitely one to be on the watch list, Chris.
Yeah. I still haven't watched Wish yet.
Oh my gosh. We still need to have movie night just between the two of us.
Yeah.
And
Rye Guy still has to watch the Princess and the Frog.
I heard about that last night too.
Yeah.
That shocked the crap out of me. Look,
that's right.
It's not for everybody, but some of these movies are pretty popular movies that we're talking about here that people haven't seen. Like things you should know about because you do stuff involving Disney with them on a daily basis,
Right. I do owe Spaceship Ears a hippo. So here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Hippopotamus. 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 Ah!
Thank you, John, for the super sticker earlier. Debbie says she misses movie nights. We may get back into it. Jan S said, I saw Inside Out today. I liked it more than the first one. It has
Heard a lot of people say that.
It has had a huge box office weekend.
Yep.
Broke a couple of records. So
Yep.
that I think that was good news for Pixar, to be honest.
Yeah, Disney and whatever.
Yeah.
Disney Pixar. No, look, we're getting back to starting to. Am I smoking? Oh my gosh. It's my throat. You know it's my throat.
Oh.
Jeff, I did not get the storage unit today that I was going to get.
Uh-oh. All right, Jeff, you got the link so we can talk Storage Wars again. You should get two for you should get enough. See? There he is. I'm going to watch The Princess and the Frog, I promise. Is there going to be another season? What we've heard there's going to be another season of Moon Knight, but it was announced today that the director of the second director for Blade has left the project.
Yeah, I'm glad they could cancel that project. It won't hurt my feelings.
So and Marvel has not changed the release date of November of next year. So I don't know what
have they started filming it yet?
No, because they don't have a director yet.
Well, I didn't know if they like quitting in the middle of it or something. So. Interesting.
There does need to be another season of Moon Knight, Jeff.
There needs to be multiple seasons of Moon Knight.
We need more Moon Knight. I need more Moon Knight. I want to see Jake Lockley's version of Moon Knight. We've seen the other two. So I was actually rewatching that the other night. They're filming a Superman movie in downtown Cleveland this week. That they are, Monorail Molly. James Gunn released the image of the new Superman outfit.
Is it dumb?
Yeah, I
hope it's dumb.
I was kind of meh on it. I'll pull it up and show it. Here you go. This is. Go back. We'll do it this way. Here is the said image that was released.
Yeah. Who's the actor?
I can't even remember, to be honest. It's got the very stylized, sharp-lined S that reminds me of throwback to when Superman split into red and blue during the early 2000s. Yeah, there you go. I just Stacy's going to yell at me, but I'm sorry, but the best Superman is the one they let go.
Yep. Thanks for that, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So, let's see. Movie Maniac says David Cornsweet. Wait, what?
You're gonna try to make a name out of somebody new.
Yes. Would be a shame if Superman leveled Cleveland. Whoops. Molly says the Avengers movie didn't, so she thinks they're safe. Um, yeah. So that was news today. I watched a trailer for a Kit Harington movie.
Oh, nice.
Earlier. It's called Beast Within. It stars him and another guy from the Game of Thrones, older white beard guy that was head of the wall. I can't remember his name.
Oh, I don't know his actor's name, but I know.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, he played Jorah Mormont, his dad.
Yes. Yeah.
Jorah Mormont.
His father. Stars the two of them. It looks really good. Very
cool.
There's something else I was going to talk about. I don't remember what it is.
Hey, we can talk about movies for days.
We could. I think Steve has what is that word? I think Steve has a case of storage unit jitis.
Storage unititis. Oh, jitis, yeah. Storage unit jitis. So does Jeff. He got it from me. It was contagious, apparently.
Did you let your gynecologist know about that?
Who, mine or Jeff's?
Yours for your storage unit jitis?
No. He said I already hit my quota this month.
Oh. 100 Acrewood says my voice sounds like Steve's right now. Allergies. I know that feeling. Yeah. Stacy said, I'm so excited. We're going to go to the drive-in this weekend to see Inside Out 2. She just looked and it's showing with If. So, double feature. Nice. Jeff says, I tell my gyno everything.
Yep. See, Jeff understands.
Yep.
I just want to know, how often do I come up when you're talking to him, Jeff?
Yeah. I don't know where to go from there. Yeah. Windy B says, I'm not touching that. I had forgot about the Planet of the Apes movie, and apparently that came and went and didn't do well at the box office.
It didn't do great.
Yeah.
Wasn't terrible. I think it spent 1 week at number one, maybe.
But I did watch a review of the new Bad Boys movie today.
Yeah.
And they said that it was actually really good.
That's what a lot of people said. They said it was better than any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
You got to remember, though, they also are 20 years later, whatever it is, with all the new modern technology and everything, that they can make the movie cinematically better.
Well, they showed some behind the scenes filming, and they were doing not like CG. They were using like actual like puffs of smoke for bullet fire and different stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, though. Those kinds of actions are better than they used to be, and so are the cameras that we're filming with. And I mean, it's just all better.
Stephen K says he liked it. Did you see my comment about Spaceball 2's in the works? No, I didn't see that, Nick. I missed that.
Hadn't that been in the works for like 30 years?
They keep talking about it. Yeah. I can't wait for Deadpool and Wolverine. That's
yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yep. The Apes movie, that is. He liked that. Stephen K. liked the Apes movie. I thought that one looked really good. I can't wait to watch it. But
it's still playing in the theater still.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna go watch it this past weekend, but I went to Jeff's house instead. Warmed, and I didn't want to go.
John said Kingdom cost 160 million and made 158 million domestically. Will probably break even with international. That's not too bad, I guess, nowadays.
No.
There's several movies streaming now that I'd missed that I wanted to go back and watch.
I know. I got to go back and watch The Beekeeper.
That looked good.
I did watch Argyle before I lost Apple.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
That was a fun movie.
That was
Godzilla -1 is on Netflix now, and I've been wanting to watch that. It actually won it won an Oscar or something.
One of the awards.
One of the awards.
What Henry Cavill is in Argyle as well, isn't he?
He is.
Is that him?
I also want to see that other movie that he was just in, The Ungentlemanly.
Oh yeah,
whatever it was.
Yeah, that. My brother loves that movie.
That looked good.
I haven't seen the original. There's multiples, and there's a TV series or something like that. So I got to make sure I get them in the right order. But yeah, that looked really good.
Spaceship Sears says it did better than Furiosa. That cost 168 million and made 63 million. Wow.
Oh, Mad Max.
Domestically, yeah. Jan said she did not like Furiosa. Here's the deal with Furiosa. I don't understand why we keep making Mad Max movies, because each one that comes out seems to just keep declining, and I don't see a big push for this franchise anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're trying to revitalize it. And they keep thinking by switching the actor to Tom Hardy and now Chris Hemsworth and everybody. They think putting these will help revive that franchise. I think it's done.
Yeah. I
did like them, though. I like the franchise and I like the movies. They're just not, nobody's going to watch them.
I'll tell you another bit of news I actually stumbled on today, Steve.
Yeah.
They have officially signed and are starting work on another Lethal Weapon movie starring Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Nice. Both of them are still going to be in it?
Both of them are going to be in it. Yep.
Isn't Danny Glover like 90 years old?
Something like that. They're way too old for this stuff.
Forgot about that.
So, I love the Lethal Weapon movies. Those are movies I still watch every once in a while. I like those. I still watch some of the Die Hard movies sometimes too, though.
Yeah, those are good.
So I like the way Godzilla -1 was shot. Wasn't too keen on the story, says Stephen K. I get that. Godzilla Kong was another one that made a lot of movie this year. Had a good box office this year. I'm anxious to see that one. I didn't get to see it.
Godzilla, the older one, the one that came out earlier?
It came out earlier this year.
Yeah. That was a great movie. I think it was a great movie.
That looked like just one of those fun. You just want a tub of popcorn and you're just going to sit there and have fun the whole time.
It's set up a whole directional thing for a lot more movies. Yeah.
Nice. See, that's a franchise unlike Mad Max. That's a franchise that you honestly would have thought was dead, and they have brought that back with Kong's Skull Island and
the TV show Monarch.
Yes.
was unbelievable. I mean, it was one of the best TV shows I've seen in a long time.
They have really revitalized that whole franchise. I love the way they've incorporated it all with Monarch and everything, and telling a more unified story.
Yeah.
But Mad Max, I'm
gonna call my mom real quick. Just
You're
make sure
good.
they're okay.
Go ahead. Star Wars: The Acolyte keeps dropping in ratings. I think it's down to 14% public rating now. I still haven't started it. There's several other shows that I'm probably going to start before I start that, to be honest. So looking forward to that. Not really. There was another one I saw on Netflix that came out that I'm anxious to see. And what's funny to me is Netflix is the one service I've been ready to drop like a bad habit, and for some reason they've come out with 2 or 3 movies that I'm like, oh, I wanted to see that and I missed it. The series Suits. I was always interested in the series Suits and never watched that. That's on Netflix. I swear there was another movie on there though that I was wanting to see. Yeah. Stephen K. liked Monarch also. It looks really good. I have to redo my Apple. I let my Apple expire as well. That Beverly Hills Cop, the new one, I haven't watched that yet. I wasn't sure, to be honest, how that was going to turn out. And then what was the other movie that this is going to annoy me, y'all? Sorry. Maybe it wasn't there. Dune 2 is on Max now. I still haven't watched Dune 1, but I want to watch both of those. Got to get to those. And of course, House of Dragon dropped, as we talked about last night. That's out there now. I've been watching Godzilla 24/7 on here the last 2 weeks. The same movies. Yeah, I get it, Marguerite. I do that with John Wick sometimes. Just 4 movies, and for some reason, I just keep rewatching John Wick. So that's a thing.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. It was not there. I don't know where it was. I saw a movie the other night on one of the streaming services when I was cycling through, and I was like, "Oh, that movie's out and available now." I wanted to watch that, and now I can't find it.
Dune 1 was painful to sit through.
Dune 1 is like a long appetizer. It gets good in Dune 2.
Yeah, they promoted Zendaya in this whole movie, and she's in it for like 5 minutes. It's bad. But you got to watch it to understand what's going on in Dune 2.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
Hang
on, they're there. Call me back in.
Coming soon. No, not there. So I don't know what that other movie was. I should have saved it somewhere and I didn't. I did see Step Brothers is back streaming on Peacock. I want to go watch that again because that movie makes me laugh. I haven't watched it in a while. So Doom 1 ended right when it was supposed to start the action. Doom 2 was really good, says Sparkly Pink. Here's that Steve slapping noise. Yeah, Mom. One of my all-time favorite movies I can watch over and over again is the original Die Hard, says Susan Silva. Yeah. I liked which Die Hard was it? Live Free and Die Hard. I liked that one. That was a good one. Wendy B like Smokey and the Bandit. Hey. He's bounding down. Yep. So that's a good one. Second season of King of Collectibles on Netflix has them chasing a bunch of pop culture collectibles, including comics and video games. Interesting. Stevie K, after the stream last night, you mentioned that in chat last night, and I found that and saved it to my list. That I like to watch shows like that. Often thought Disney needs to do another show like that. They did a small one when Disney Plus first came out about some of the props and everything. I think they should do more like that. I love those stories. There used to be a show on Netflix or Sci-Fi with a guy that worked in the I think he ran an auction house, but he would go out and find all these collectibles and different things. It was really interesting. You'd find movie props in the weirdest parts of America. Are you a fan of the Ted series on Peacock? Haven't watched it.
I like it.
Adventures with Matt. You have?
Yep, I loved it.
I haven't watched it.
The air conditioning went out on their vehicle that they're driving.
Oh no!
So, and it's hot.
I bet. At least it's nighttime and not heat of the day, though.
Yeah, but it's still where they're at. It's like 87 degrees still.
Oh, geez. Okay, John says, I'm a fan of The Shadow. The 1994 Alec Baldwin film was fun but catchy. The old-time radio series was great. You can have that one, John. I'll pass. You can have that one. I think of that, and I think of what was the Phantom with Billy Zane. Sparkly Pink Diamond stirs the pot and says anything is better than Bridgerton.
She's wrong. You're in the minority. I'm just telling you. I watched it today. So I was watching TikTok today, right?
Yeah.
Now Bridgerton has invaded TikTok. People are dressing up like the characters all over TikTok and everything. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Let's go here and see. Top picks.
And for those of you that don't know, Angie didn't even watch one episode yet. She said she tried like twice to force herself to watch one, and she hasn't gotten through it.
She couldn't get through it. That's what she said. My favorite old cop show is Hunter, says Weekend Adventures with Matt. I remember my parents watched Hunter. And Remington Steele. And the Equalizer. That's a good movie series. I'll rewatch The Equalizer. All three of those movies. I love Denzel Washington. Those are great movies.
You like the TV show?
TV show? No, I don't like the current TV show. I don't watch it, but I love the Denzel movies.
Yeah, those are good.
Did
you watch the latest one yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Equalizer 3. Yep. Angie says she's been watching Yellowstone. Bridgerton can keep their dainty bits. I'll tell you another movie, Steve, that it's probably odd, but I watched it. I could watch this movie anytime, and I probably know every line from this movie, and I still enjoy it. Is The Fifth Element?
Oh yeah,
Don't know why.
it's Bruce
But
Willis.
that's just a fun movie.
Wasn't that Bruce Willis? Like
It
maybe
is.
Chris Rock or something.
Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman.
Was it Chris Rock in that? Or
No, that's
Chris
Chris
Tucker, I mean.
Tucker.
That's what I meant.
That's Chris Tucker. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, it's. I don't have it loaded. I don't think. Yeah. I haven't watched the Spider-Man, the last one,
Really?
since it was in theaters.
You saw it though?
I saw it. I saw it in theater, but I haven't watched it since. And it was on sale on Amazon like a month or so ago, and I got it for like $8. So I need to rewatch that.
Wow.
Yeah. Lilu Multipass. Yeah.
Oh crap.
So
I change that.
that's that anyway. That's fun stuff. I guess I could work on a puzzle, or we could call it a night.
You do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm painting.
Are you?
Working
If you were watching the stream last night, I hope you enjoyed it because nobody else is getting to watch it.
Is it still down?
It got banned worldwide.
And you can't fix it?
It was multiple songs.
Yeah, but you can just
I could go through and mute it, but that would leave us with like a 45-minute stream.
just cut out the sections that are there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you.
It'll be a while before we play Fire Truck again, Stacy. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
In Montreal,
No
Molly.
more fire truck.
Fire Truck got me banned worldwide. So, yeah. Let's chit chat, says Weenie B. Yep. The boy child's and girl child's Father's Day gift to me got delivered today.
Yeah.
I haven't opened it yet because the girl child's not here yet.
I already know what it is. Unless he changed it. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, and I know what it is.
Probably gonna have to wait till this weekend.
And it's gonna be awesome.
Molly says there I am causing trouble again. No, not you. It was me. I played it last night. So, how was the fire truck fine for so long then now? I don't know, Wendy B. We played that song hundreds of times.
Because
I wonder if it's just because there were so many of the songs that it was just like the cherry on top of the sundae.
It takes owners of the music to realize that it's being used. And then when they finally do it, it goes into a program. And then anytime it gets played, it gets recognized now.
But I deleted that whole K-pop playlist, so we won't be using that again. So
you probably kept it for your off-stream time, right?
I can stream that through Apple Music or
Oh,
YouTube. So, did I see your comment, Stacy, about that show? No, I didn't. Hollywood Treasures was the show on Sci-Fi. The guy was Joe Mandolina. He was recently on Expedition Unknown with help with the host Josh Gates finding the. Oh, that's cool. My brother likes Expedition Unknown. He watches a lot of that. Um, did you see my comment about the Lorcana cards? I did not. Stevie K, let me go back up to that. Right now on Golden Auctions, they have a Lorcana card up for auction, and its current bid is $12,000.
yeah, those are probably the ones from D23.
That's crazy. I got some here I can auction off for $1.
Corey and I were in line for those once, and he didn't want to wait. He wanted to get to the rest of the booths.
Wendy B. Clarkson's Farm is one of the funniest series there is. I haven't started season 3 yet. I love that show. He doesn't have any clue what he's doing, and it's hilarious.
Is it like a reality show where he actually farms?
Yes. So Jeremy Clarkson was one of the 3 stars of the show Top Gear.
Of what?
The British show, BBC show Top Gear. They reviewed and did all sorts of crazy stuff with cars.
Okay.
They would review like very high-end mega cars, hypercars. They left the BBC. They went to Amazon Prime and started a show called The Grand Tour. And then he started his own series called Clarkson's Farm. He basically bought a farm in England.
Mm-hmm.
The farmer that managed the farm retired, and Clarkson thought, how hard can it be? And I'll run the farm. And he has no clue on anything. And he's trying to run a farm that has been in existence. He dated it back to like the late 1800s.
Jeez.
So it is hilarious. Watch it.
Spaceship Earth. Yeah, sorry. Me too. Sorry.
It's all right. I gave far years of my life to World of Warcraft. Yeah.
I just ended my subscription this year.
Yeah.
I was playing it up to this year.
Yeah. How hard can it be? That's what he always says. Check out the Grand Tour. You'll thank me later. That's funny stuff.
Talking to me?
Anybody.
Oh.
Both.
Both.
He did. He had both. He tried to get me to play that game, and I gave up.
I recruited Chris for a while. Him and Gonzo both have recruited for a couple months.
It was just over my head. But I do use the microphone.
The Warcraft microphone?
Yep, World of Warcraft microphone.
Okay.
Sparkly Pink Diamonds asked, has Steve been using his booby pillow? I've missed a whole week with y'all.
I don't have a booby pillow.
He's been using his arm rest pillow.
But yeah, I got one of those.
I saw that, Susan Silva. A WoW expansion is coming out soon.
Yep. Like I played it a lot, like way too much. But right now I just don't have the time because of living constraints and all that stuff to figure it all out. So I just
I
can't
never
do it.
watched it, Steve. But how did you ever see the movie?
Oh yeah. I loved it.
Was it good?
I liked it, but again, I was into it. I thought it was well done.
John says World of Warcraft will be 20 years old this November. Wow.
It's crazy. The first time I lived in Florida is when I found out about it back in 2006. So that's when I started playing it. Okay, that didn't work out. So we got to redo that. Too light. Oh, we do this.
I gave up on that because it was too much.
Too much what?
Too much to figure out.
Oh,
It
consumed my life, but like it was very, very life consuming.
Wow. My game that I play turns 10 years old this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Destiny.
I mean,
September
half as good as Warcraft.
First released September the 9th, 2014.
Still too dark.
Weenie B wants to know if you're working on another Magical Night of Hope painting.
I am. It's Hades.
Oh, nice.
I did Scar, and I did the old hat. Oh no, I can't do that. I got colored paint and don't do that. I got it. Okay. I did Scar and the old hag over the weekend, and I'm working on Hades.
Stacy says Pokemon Go is 8 years old this year. That's crazy to me. I remember playing that when it first came out, and I played it for a little while, and I gave up. And I ran into a buddy that I work with about a month ago. He was still playing that game. Yep. I didn't know people still played that game. I didn't know it was still around.
Disney World is a major hub for it. There's a gym.
I remember that. Yeah. Yes, it was Tim Ripple, Wendy, that wanted Hades.
What's that?
Tim Ripple said that he wanted that Hades.
Yeah. Last night. I've got he's a lot of different blues to mix because I don't have the colors, but we're I'm gonna try to. I need a fluorescent blue and I don't have one, and that's the top of his hair. I think I can recreate it though. Maybe like this is what my paint palette looks like right now. These are all blues that are sitting here in front of me
different blues
as I'm mixing them all together to try to get the right color of what I want. And then I've got all the other blues down here too. Oh, you know what? I got one.
Weenie B says her daughter still plays Pokemon Go and she's 22. Stacy says they still play. Got to catch them all.
Yeah. Got to catch them all.
John Spaceship Ear says, I still play Pitfall from the Atari.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Dinah Murphy wants to know, are you even going to be able to sleep tonight, Steve?
Yeah. I'm not going to see my parents till tomorrow afternoon. No. Until I get off. I got to work tomorrow. They'll get in around 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm guessing. And I'm going to, I get off at 4:30. So they're going to go to Springs and wait on me. Then I'll drive over there, meet them, hang out for a minute. We'll go get checked into the hotel, and then I'm gonna try to see if we can get to the fireworks tomorrow. The Magic Kingdom fireworks tomorrow, just so they can see them, because that'll be probably the only night we have a chance to see them.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Stephen K asked, "Did you ever play the survival horror game called The Forest?"
The
I don't
Forest?
spook easily, but that game scared me.
Did you say The Forest?
Yes,
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
I have heard of it. I've never played it. I will say back in the day, I tried to play Silent Hill one night, and I say late in the night. I had headphones on, and that game kind of scared me. I didn't play much more of that one. Wendy B says, "I'm so happy your family's coming down to visit, Steve. That's awesome."
Me too. Oh, okay. I got it. I've been piling stuff on my bed that I got to take with me, because I need to so I got the stuff I picked up for Regina's over here, because I have to take all that with me tomorrow to work. And and then I was sitting here thinking the other day, I was like, oh crap, I got to take my camera and everything, because I'm filming on Monday, and I don't want to come back here to get it all.
Yeah.
If I forget something, it's not a big deal. We'll just go back and get it. But I don't want to, because this is where I live, is way out of the way from everywhere we'll be. So
Silent Hill is also based off a real place. Really, Angie? I didn't know that.
right there and over there.
It was a weird. That game, no. That wasn't for me. Oh, it's in Pennsylvania near Stacy. That makes sense. Does anyone play Endless? Wait, what's it? Endless Ocean, the old one. The new one is crap. We would play it in the theater room. It's awesome on a big screen, and the music so calming.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it, Wendy.
I used to play Myst, which led into the big franchise. Was the I think Skyrim. The Skyrim franchise. I didn't know, Jeff.
It's a diving game.
I mean, I could cancel the reservation still, but I don't think that's necessary. Although you do have a pool.
He does have a pool.
And I could house sit for Jeff, because
you have to drain it, and then you have to add water to it, and you have to do that repeatedly.
And we actually have another hotel for Friday night. That's when we go to the Animal Kingdom Lodge. So yeah, I could keep draining and refilling your pool, Jeff.
We still got no Centralia is not near me. I think it might be closer today. Centralia is on fire and no one can live there. Oh, is that the burning town? Yeah. I remember somebody talking about that. Tina or somebody was talking about that. Centralia. Okay. The calcium is officially under control, says Jeff. Nice. Congratulations.
Very nice.
You've done good, sir. I think maybe four or five families still live there.
Jeffrey might actually, if it's okay with you, I might actually park their vehicle there though, out on your just out on the road there, so I don't have to pay for two vehicles being parked everywhere.
That's
If
not
you're,
it.
if you're okay with that, sir. What?
Wendy says, if Jeff lets Steve stay, I'm coming down early, swimming in the pool, and TPing the front yard on the way out.
Can't do that. I get no. And then she's gonna put Wendy 1 across it in big letters right all over his house.
She's going to write last.
Last.
Signed Wendy. Good night, Movie Mania Nick. Have a good one. You could park your car in this driveway. I don't care, says Jeff.
I might do that, Jeff, if you're okay with it. I forgot you were leaving. But I'll probably just stick it on the road, like right out there where I parked for the party, because that'll be there till Monday morning or Tuesday morning. So Hades is actually starting to shape up a lot better than I thought he was going to. I gotta get his hair done real quick though, and then he'll look like Hades.
Oh, okay.
So how am I gonna pull this off?
We can't see bald Hades.
We're gonna pull this off by this. What?
We don't want to see bald Hades. Although his hair does go out at one moment in the movie.
His hair is I got it drawn, so I got the flames on here. It's gonna be the coloring is gonna be the hard part. So I'm gonna try to see what I can do with this. I don't want to put it in the blue slot because it's already blue.
Anger is wannabe Hades. He's just not angry enough to be Hades. He hasn't kicked it up from the yellow flame to the blue flame yet. Stacy wants to know, what is your guilty pleasure TV shows? Ours is Neighborhood Wars, Customer Wars, and Road Wars.
Mine was Glee.
Glee?
I loved Glee. That's it. When I met my best friend from Indiana, when we lived there, we started playing softball together. And at our first tournament, we just got to really hit it off. We were going around doing things, and we were sitting there waiting between games. And he said, I'm just going to say it. And I said, what's that? And he said, what's your guilty pleasure TV show? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. And he said, mine's Glee. And I was like, mine is too. So that it was just meant to be.
Jeff Condon says, I'm catching up with Pete McDevitt this weekend near me in New England. Looking forward to that. That's cool,
Nice.
Jeff. Nice. Dinah Murphy loved Glee. I have a few that I keep rewatching, even though I've seen them 100 times. So it depends on what mood I'm in. I'm a huge, I don't know if I've ever announced this before or not, but I'm a huge Andy Griffith fan.
My dad is too.
But I only watched seasons 1 through 5. I don't like it when it went to color. It wasn't the same show. There was no Barney. It's not the same show.
Barney left when it went to color?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I know almost all the lines to every episode. You play me an episode, and within 15 seconds, I can tell you which episode it is. And anyway.
That's great.
I love I like Bones and House if I'm into the medical drama type aspects.
Yeah. Oh, that's not gonna work.
Parks and Rec, The Office.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah. And one that I fall asleep to a lot at night is Star Trek Voyager. I don't know why Voyager, but I like Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah. I'm not a Star Trek fan at all.
I am. Angie says she can't watch medical shows. They do everything wrong and it drives her nuts. Dinah Murphy loved ER.
ER was good.
Yeah. The Curse of Oak Island, says Jeff.
That was such a good show, and they never found anything. But now Jeff's got me intrigued again because he says they're going to find it.
Okay, if we're going to talk History Channel shows, I'm stuck on Alone. I can't watch enough Alone, and I'll just any episode I just watch Alone a lot for some reason. Jeff Condon says I agree with Angie, but House was a great show. I liked House because I liked his wry sense of humor and everything.
I never got
really
into House.
You never did?
No.
I like that.
I loved Lost. How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother was awesome, I thought.
I started watching Lost again the other night.
I got in my storage, I have all the DVDs.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Katie Y, welcome in. Katie Y says she rewatched the Grimm series again recently. Loved that. I have a friend that was a big fan of that show.
One of the main guys from that was in another show. But I hated the way his character played and everything. But that was the which one was that? What he was in? Million Little Things.
Oh yeah. Stephen Case said Skinwalker Ranch. Ever watched that?
I have no idea. I have no desire for that.
Diana Murphy says, okay, train wreck shows I watch are 90 Day Fiance, Smothered, and Below Deck.
You know why I have Netflix? Honestly. Because my mom called me one night and she was using my brother's Netflix and he was gone or whatever. She can't get it. And she was like, I can't get my show on. It's I don't know, the something of the 90 Day Fiance or blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hang on, Mom. I'll go ahead and get it because there's shows I want to watch too. And I knew Bridgerton was coming back out. So I logged into it and got it for her. Now I use it. I'm not going to say.
That's one, Jeff, I need to go back and finish watching.
That was an amazing show.
I need to go back.
Agree with Jeff on that one. I love that show.
I need to go. I didn't turn my light on tonight. I need to go back and finish watching that one.
A lot of people say it could have done without the last episode. I mean, the last season. They're probably right. A lot of people didn't like the direction it went, but I liked the ending. So,
yeah.
But you could have tagged the ending onto the season prior to it, and it would have been like perfect.
I
still watched and enjoyed it.
What was that? I gotta find this now. The Terminal List is one. I've probably watched that series.
It's good.
Like 4 times now.
Isn't it supposed to have like another season coming out?
There's supposed to be another season of it coming.
Somewhere, sometime.
Debbie Burnfeld says she loved and still watches Columbo and Murder She Wrote. Mom and Dad liked Murder, She Wrote. I have a few months back when I was having the surgery and in recovery, I watched a bunch of Matlock.
I love Matlock. It's one of the older shows I watched.
I remember Matlock from my youth. Mom and Dad watched it all the time, and I went back and started watching. I was like, "This is a pretty good show."
I've seen every episode of every season of Big Brother, and I watched the behind the scenes footage.
Yeah,
I mean the live feeds.
Angie and Debbie Thunert were both saying Big Brother, and Debbie said The Amazing Race.
Amazing Race is awesome, and a new one. Because my favorite Big Brother player of all time was Cody Calafiore. And he was on another show called The Traitors on Peacock that I think I tried to get you to watch. There's four versions. There's the regular version, and then you've got New Zealand, British, and Australia. And there's 2 seasons of everything except for 1 season New Zealand. I've seen them all. It's a really, really good show.
Jeff said, emergency in Adam 12. I'm addicted. Everyone's blood pressure is 120/80. Stacy said that, Chris, you said you love Alone. Are you going to watch Alone Australia? I'll watch it. Sure.
Wow. She said, so they left 5 hours late. Even leaving 5 hours late, they should have been at the hotel at 11:30. It says they're 145 miles away from the hotel still.
Oh, geez. Yeah, they're going to sleep in the morning.
That's why they don't. I usually do all the driving.
Yeah. Wendy said, Amazing Race. Tony and I would watch and point out parts where we would fight and argue.
Fair enough. I want to do the Amazing Race. I've actually applied for it. My buddy and I from back home, we applied for it twice. I've applied for Big Brother twice. Once with Big Brother, I had a really cool entry video. And I actually started progressing through the rounds.
Yeah.
And then it wound up being, it was back in the day when I was, I would have had to have been there. If I made it, I would have had to have been there. And I had a Disney trip that I'd already paid for. So I backed out. But I didn't know what I was doing back then either. I was young.
Jeff Condon said, I blame the show Emergency for how I ended up where I am. John Spaceship here says, I think Janeway was the best captain, Chris. I like Picard too, Next Generation a lot, but I don't think Star Trek Voyager gets enough love. That's a great series. Once they started finding their footing and figuring it out.
I think all Star Trek gets too much love. I have tried so many times. I mean, I've watched numerous episodes of numerous seasons and the movies. I do like the Chris Pine movies. I will say I do like at least 2 of them. I cannot stand Star Trek. I am so glad Disney went Star Wars instead of Star Trek.
Jeff said, you want to fight and argue more, Wendy? Try getting a pool. We have hourly fights. It's amazing.
It's because Jeff doesn't keep the water level balanced.
Good night, Debbie Thunert. Have a good one.
Night.
Debbie Burnfeld says, Steve, you would be a great Big Brother player.
I think so.
Star Trek: The Next Generation. That one is the best, I will say. But I really like Voyager. Yeah.
I will say though, if I had my choice, I'm so intrigued by how the Traitors works. I would almost pick Traitors over Big Brother.
So I started watching that. I still haven't finished it, Steve, but I started watching that. That is a good show. If y'all haven't watched that, it's on Peacock. It's called The Traitors.
There's 4 different versions and 2 seasons of everything except for New Zealand's got 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter who the cast is. So if there's famous people in the U.S. versions, the one that's hosted by Alan Cummings, the rest of them you don't know who any of the people are, and it doesn't matter. You adapt to them really fast. But I'd want to be one of the traders.
Janeway was too dramatic, Chris. She was. That's true. I never really got into the Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I don't know what it was. It was. I could watch it, but it wasn't one that I haven't watched all of that series. I'll just put it that way. For some reason, that one always felt more like what's that other Stargate, like one of the Stargate series than Star Trek. I don't know. Maybe just me. I don't know. Have you ever watched Mama's Family? Yes. Weekend Adventures of Matt. My parents would. Yeah. I remember Mama's Family.
I couldn't believe how she wasn't old.
Yeah.
It always baffled me.
That was a hilarious series.
I mean, you watch it now and you go, oh, yeah, that's definitely, I can see that. But back then, I was like, what do you mean she's not very old? Oh, man, there's another one, though. How about the Golden Girls?
The Golden Girls.
Watch me some Golden Girls.
There you go.
The Ladies of the Lanai.
That show's usually on some channel at some point.
Yep. Love Sophia. I loved them all.
Yeah. I remember growing up, Mom and Dad were big Dallas fans.
I've never seen that. Is that the one with JR? They used to play
JR, yeah.
Who Shot JR thing?
Shot JR and all that. Designing Women. I remember Designing Women.
I thought of another one I started watching a few months ago and haven't picked back up again. That's One Tree Hill.
Oh, yeah.
I loved One Tree Hill.
Watched that.
It tackled a lot of interesting situations and topics that I thought they did a great job with.
What's his name? Jack Johnson?
What?
What's his name? Was it Jack Johnson? Jack
from what?
From One Tree Hill?
Chad Michael Murray?
No.
Which character? Dan? Who are you talking about?
Hang on, I'm looking it up. Okay, he wasn't in that show. Never mind.
I'm not sure I know who Jack Johnson is.
Not Jack Johnson. What was his name?
There's a Don Johnson.
No, not Don Johnson. Joshua Jackson.
Joshua Jackson from the Skulls.
Yeah.
And from the one with the guy from Game of Thrones, Fringe.
Fringe. Yeah, he was on one of those. Dawson's Creek. That's the one he was on.
Yep.
Yeah. The Fringe is okay. The Fringe is one of my other guilty pleasures. I'll go through a Fringe binge and I'll just watch that nonstop until I finish it again. And I've watched all of that series multiple times.
Yeah.
That had Lance Reddick in it, and I really liked Lance Reddick.
Was he the older guy?
Yeah, he's
the one from Game of Thrones that played
the
King.
No, Lance Reddick. He was the concierge at the Continental in the John Wick movies. The black guy.
Oh yeah.
A very distinct voice.
Yep.
He was the head of their unit on the Fringe.
I thought, who was the old guy? The one with the long stringy hair.
That was John Noble.
Yes, he's in Game of Thrones.
He's in Lord of the Rings.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah. Lord of the Rings is what I meant. Where he jumps off the castle.
Yeah.
Or the, whatever.
He's been in a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, Lance Reddick. Lance was in Bosch. If anyone watched that, I haven't watched Bosch. That's another one that I thought
I've
about
never seen
watching.
that either.
Lance Reddick also did one of the voices of a character in that game Destiny that I play,
Yeah.
and he was very active in that game. He played it a lot himself. In fact, they found out he was playing it the night before he died.
Really? Who was that?
Lance Reddick, the guy from John Wick, the concierge.
Yeah. Is John Noble still alive?
Yes, he is. He's 75 years old.
Jeez. Good for him.
He's a good actor.
Yeah. Guess another guilty pleasure would be for me Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
I don't know if that's considered a guilty pleasure or not, but
Bluey.
well, usually guilty pleasures are shows that you watch that you don't want other people knowing about,
You don't want other people to know you watch.
like the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Okay. See if we can turn this into what I want it to be now. I don't know if I can make it happen, but we're going to try. We're going to try with this. Oh, I don't have much in there. Just spit everywhere.
I go back sometimes and watch the Beverly Hillbillies, the original.
I
series.
didn't. My dad loves that show. I couldn't get into it.
Stephen K asked, "Did you ever watch the show Jericho?" No, but that one always looked interesting to me.
Yeah, I never got into that one either. It got canceled. Then people wanted it so bad it got brought back, but got horrible ratings, so they canceled again. So I don't know.
Randy B says Below Deck, and I'm still ashamed. I like boats. I've watched Below Deck a few times.
It's on my TikToks.
Jeff says, I watch Fraggle Rock, and I want the whole world to know.
They got a new season that came out this year.
Jeff Condon says Hogan's Heroes.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Good night, Angie. Sparkly Pink Diamonds. Have a good one.
I watched. I mean, it wasn't a guilty pleasure by any means, but because it was really popular. But MASH. I'm trying to think of older shows that I've actually seen.
So here's the deal with MASH for me. I never watched MASH young, growing up, anything. I started watching MASH maybe last year.
Yeah.
And discovered how much I really liked MASH. How good. I just never.
They pushed some boundaries before boundaries were able to be pushed.
They did.
Like Klinger and those guys.
Yeah.
That should be better. Let's see. Jeff just called Angie a lightweight.
Yes,
why didn't you join us tonight, Jeffrey? We invited Chris said he invited you.
Don't watch the end of MASH. I cried, says 100 Acre Wood.
Well, it's not worth watching if you're not going to watch the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see if this gets any better now.
All in the Family pushed every boundary in TV
I loved
history.
all the Family was really good.
That's true, Jeff Condon. Debbie Burnfeld said, I loved MASH. I think that was one of the best TV shows on. Yeah. Jeff says, I'm in third chair and it's hard to get out.
I don't blame him. He's getting ready to. He's on vacation already.
He's on vacation. The A-Team, that was a good one, yeah. With Face.
Love it when a plan comes together.
Yep. Dinah Murphy says, what happened on All in the Family wouldn't be allowed today. That's very true. The red chair, he says. red chair.
One of my favorite episodes, though, is when he had the blood transfusion. And do you remember that episode at all?
No.
So it was they had some racial stuff on there just because it was back in that time period. And Archie always had the thing, with the blacks, as he called them. And he got a blood transfusion one day, and he found out it came from a black man. And I don't remember what happened, but he got into a fight with somebody and they were being really ignorant. And he just said something along, it changed his whole perception on things. And he said something along, don't mess with us blacks or something like that. Cause he had the blood transfusion. It was like, it broke everything that his character had had said for forever. It was pretty awesome.
Jeff Condon said nothing will beat 24 with Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about 24. Loved it. Then they revitalized it with that Corey, whatever his name is, but that wasn't as good.
Here's breaking news. I never watched 24.
You didn't?
I have never watched 24.
Man. Sad, really, just sad.
And I'm worried that it's too old for me to go back and rewatch. Is it?
Oh my gosh, no.
Okay.
Never. But start from the beginning.
All right.
Dennis Haybert was in that. Man, that was such a good show.
100 Acrewood asked, did anyone here get into Sleepy Hollow before they messed it up and canceled it? Never watched it. I had a friend that did, but I never did.
Okay, his hair's too dark. I gotta lighten that up.
Everybody's agreeing 24 was great.
What's that?
Everybody's saying 24 was great.
Oh man, yeah, 24 was awesome. That's gonna be better.
I may have had a crash on Chloe from 24.
Oh gosh, I could stand her. I just could not stand her.
Have you ever seen The Servant? I haven't seen that, Shelby. No. I remember watching Knight Rider. Yes, I do remember that. Blooming Jesus, Richard. Yeah. Grew up on Knight Rider and Airwolf and the A-Team. Yep. Magnum PI. Dinah asked, does anyone remember the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew? I remember them being books.
I was saying, aren't they books?
I don't remember them being
movies. I don't know about it.
Three's Company. Is that what you're talking about, John? I
still watch Three's Company.
John said, like I said, though, Mr. Farley's greater than Mr. Roper.
Yes. I mentioned Falling Skies the other night.
Yeah.
Crazy. When I was telling, I may have been off stream or not. I was telling Chris about it though with Noah Wiley, and I love that one too. You know, somebody told me I don't like aliens or something like that. And I was like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, watching those kind of shows. Okay, that's better.
Three's Company was good. That was good too.
It's still on a lot. I watch it late at night.
Yeah. Terry was better than Chrissy too.
Mm-hmm. What was that?
John said Terry was better than Chrissy.
Oh, Terry! There was actually a third one too, but Terry was the best.
Tuesday nights was Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, said Jeff Condon.
I never got into either of those.
We did. My brothers would sometimes fight between whether we watched Happy Days or Gilligan's Island.
I would choose Gilligan's Island.
Under the Dome. I remember that series, and I always wanted to watch it, but never
Oh, that
did.
was good. I really like that one.
Wasn't that based on a Stephen King
Yeah. So,
essay or something?
and it had the guy from Dean, what's his name? He was in a big popular show that ended, and he went over to the Dome one. And oh man, he was so good in it. I really enjoyed that show.
Jeanette, that was the other one. It was Terry and Chrissy and Jeanette was the
No,
one
Jeanette,
that was there most
that's not what
regular.
I'm talking about. There's another blonde. It was Terry and Chrissy, and she was like cowgirl. She wore the cowboy hat or the cowgirl hat. Terry, Chrissy, and I want to say Cassandra, but it's not her. It's not what her name is. And I believe
Cindy was the third one.
Who?
Cindy.
Cindy, that's right.
Yeah. Janet was the constant one. Yeah, so it was Janet and Jack. And then the third one rotated in and out.
Yeah, Terry was the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked Mr. Farley better than Mr. Roper.
Yeah. All right, that's way better now. I'm okay with that. I just got to get his little mouth and his little copper thingy, do the background and outline, and I'm done.
Jeff Condon says 2.5 Men might be some of the funniest writing on TV.
Oh.
I never watched that either.
Oh man, that's what's another thing. So I watched 2.5 Men, Big Bang, Everybody Loves Raymond, and then a lot of times the Kevin James one. King of Queens is always on. So
Winnie B wants to know if we can get a preview, Steve.
Of what? Oh, the painting? Yeah. I mean, I can show you what it looks like for now. It's messy as crap. There he is. So there's his body. You can see all the black lines I got to outline.
Yeah.
There he is up there.
Yep.
So that's him right now.
And the foundation.
Yep. It's still got ways to go. I think I'm gonna paint that little skull. I'm gonna use my metallic paint and make it like have the sparkle in it.
Dinah says I loved Battlestar Galactica. I remember that from childhood. I never really knew exactly what was going on, but I always thought it looked cool. Mork and Mindy, I do remember, and I loved Mork and Mindy.
I didn't ever get into it.
With Robin Williams.
Yep.
The 100, Stephen K. I started watching The 100 with the girl child.
I did too, and I lost it.
I lost it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I lost it along the way, but that was a good series in the beginning. I enjoyed it. All right. I think we're going to call it a night.
What's that?
I think we're going to call it a night.
Okay.
Hope everybody has a good Wednesday. Thank goodness it's Wednesday.
It's my Friday.
There you go. 5 a.m. is coming. Good night, all. Yep. Hope everybody has a great night and a good hump day tomorrow. Be sure to check out Tina at 5 o'clock. Joy S and the ladies at 8 o'clock, and Disney tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. And then Pete McDevitt will be on after them.
There might be a special guest on tomorrow night.
There might be a special guest on this and that tomorrow night. Okay. Exciting. Dinah Murphy says tomorrow is a holiday for me. Well, congratulations to you. It is Juneteenth. So if you have the day off, congratulations. Or good for you. Hope you enjoy your day. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Love you all. Steve, hope you have a great week with the family.
Thanks, sir.
And we'll see you back here maybe Thursday night after Jeff and Corey and all. So take care. Have a good one. Love you. See you soon. Bye. Toodles.